to introduce Brad Cummings, who probably doesn't need any introduction. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but who went to the Norway Elementary School or the Rowe School?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So you can check my facts.
Yes. All right, Brad, thank you.
See what I've done here? I laughed when I put this together here. I pulled a bunch of stuff from the files that we've got here, some of our newspaper clippings and whatnot, and I know my history professor at college would be sending me to the dean for plagiarizing here with no citations or anything. So please bear with me here on what we got here on these slides. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little history here of the Rowe School site, because a number of things happened on that site over the years that you may or may not be aware of. Certainly all of us are familiar in the time that we went to school there with the yellow school building, and that figures prominently in the history of the site. And then the demolition, but people around when the demolition occurred in '84, yeah, so people see that. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't here. That would have been sad. There were a lot of great memories in that. Hopefully we'll share some of those memories here when we get to that. So anyway, here we go. History of the Rowe School. All right, we're going to go way back here. First school in Norway. Sue, help me out here, because I know you've got a lot of primary school knowledge here. First school in Norway in the home of Susan Burns Everett up in Norway Center. Everybody know where Norway Center is? Yeah. Because apparently that's where the first school was. Heaven knows what kind of subjects she was teaching in 1790, but I'm sure it probably varied quite a bit from what we see today. 1794, again, I pulled this from the files, but it didn't tell me where. Any idea, 1794, where the first school
The first purpose-built schoolhouse?
Yeah.
About where Salinitas Drive is, off to Waterford Road, on the now discontinued road.
Okay.
The first purpose-built schoolhouse.
Okay.
And then burned down.
1800, there's a schoolhouse built on Pikes Hill, again, pulled from newspaper articles about schools locally with not a lot of background to provide me with just where and who and when. But 1800, apparently there was a schoolhouse on Pikes Hill. 1805, first schoolhouse in Norway Village. This is Norway Village here. And right across the street, apparently, at the upper primary school, which is Western Maine Art Group now, was the first schoolhouse built in town. 1848, we have something called the Norway Liberal Institute. And that's where the Rowe School site comes into play. So the Norway Liberal Institute had 4 grade levels. Those grade levels, I'm assuming, had to do with the age of the kids. Primary being the youngest kids, I'm sure. High school being the oldest kids. And apparently there were 174 students for 7 teachers. Again, from a newspaper article. The history had been written back in the 30s, I think. 1856, the town of Norway finally purchases the Liberal Institute. It's also called the Academy. It's sitting right down there at the Rowe School site, pretty much where the yellow school building was. And they had 2 courses of study. Apparently some of the students were going on to college at that time. It'd be interesting to see if there are any women going on to college at that time. My guess is probably very few, but I don't know. And then there was an English course, and I'm assuming that was for everybody else who didn't go to college. And that's what it looked like. Again, from a newspaper clipping. And it looks similar, as you'll see when we see a picture of what was to replace that. Very similar to what the yellow school looked like eventually. And that's what it looked like. It was basically right on the site where the Rowe School is now. And this was an advertisement. I'm sorry you can't see that very well. My scanner was not working very well, so I had to take pictures of this. But apparently there was an advertisement encouraging people to come to the Norway Academy, the Liberal Institute. And what you can't see here is they tell you here what the tuition is, and I believe this is just for the spring term. And if you wanted to take Common English, it was $4. For like, I think it was 7 or 8 weeks. If you wanted to take higher English, $5. If you wanted to take languages, it was $6. And over here, we've got a little explanation of the types of classes. They did cater to people who wanted to go into teaching. So there was the teacher curriculum. There were also the languages, French and German were taught at the time. And you also had the opportunity to be boarded here in town. It's interesting, it must have been local people who maybe lived rurally, I mean just out of town. Back in that day it would have been difficult to get into town, so there probably was some mechanism where you could board for $3 a week. And I don't know if they put you up in that building or if they boarded you with a family. Don't know. In the rooms, it says rooms on reasonable terms for students wishing to board themselves. So maybe the people rented out. Don't really know. It says render it easy for students at a long distance from home to board themselves if they wish. The principal at the time was Reverend Gunnison. That's all down here. And there was a Dennison who was an attorney, and Freeland Howe was also an attorney. Where you were to send your letters, and probably they had to go through some sort of a screening process, I guess. So anyway, that was from 1868. You know what happens here? 1894, a big burn, big town burn. And so the academy building is burned, and it's flattened. And so it was destroyed, and they built it almost immediately. I mean, when they said immediately in the newspaper article, it was kind of as if they built it like within that same year, because it was back up very quickly. And that's what it looked like. And that looks like the yellow school that we all remember. And that is, in fact, what we remember until it was torn down in 1984. And so at the time, it's called Norway High School. There's another picture of it with the curve in the front. And the difference between that one and this one, there are no trees. So I think this is an older picture. And then they did some landscaping, they put some trees in front. And this was the course of study in 1907. 32 points were required for graduation. Again, sorry you can't see that very well. You had algebra and English in the first year. You had algebra again in the second year. You had electives like Latin, physical geography, botany, English, commercial geography. Third year you took geometry, English literature. Electives were chemistry, Latin, Greek, French, business, law, civil government, American history, arithmetic, and English language. Both of arithmetic and English language were for teachers, people who wanted to be teachers. And then the fourth year continued with algebra, geometry, more English, and then the electives then were Latin, Greek, French, Roman and Grecian history, geology, astronomy, biology. Quite a selection of courses, actually, back in 1907. But you needed 32 points. This actually is someone's report card. And it got the number of points. They did get 32, but they got substantially fewer points than were offered for each course. So I don't know, I don't remember whose name was on it. I think I probably left that off, just family legacy and that kind of stuff. All right, here we go, class of 1910. This is these are the ladies, and they're posing, you can't quite see it, but they're posing with dumbbells and Indian clubs. Does anybody have any idea what those things were, what they were used for?
Physical education.
Sort of physical education.
Visual ed, okay, phys ed. Yeah, those probably, yeah.
Rhythmic gymnastics.
Brad, in 1910, it was a big thing to do rhythmic gymnastics as shows for the public.
Oh, okay.
So that's why they would have had them in their lab.
Okay. They probably had some jugglers in this group. Yeah. The photograph that I used, I did not recognize any of the names, but they did have a few of them identified here. But this photograph was provided by Geneva Sturdivant Partridge. They have offspring of Granny Jean.
That's right.
All right. Here's the 1914-15 men's basketball team. Not a lot of subs on that team. Guys in pretty good physical condition, probably. There weren't a lot of substitutions in that team. And they did have names at the bottom of this. Shepard, Smith, Klain. There's a Klain here. Klain is certainly a name that's recognizable in town. Here's a Shepard. Farnham, Sanderson, Snow, Haskell, and Andrews. No first names listed.
How'd they do that here, Brad?
And here's the women's basketball team, 24-25. And let's see here. This lady right here is Marita Andrews. Anybody know Marita Andrews?
Of course, yeah.
So she was alive. All right, so in 1928-29, they build what begins to look like the core of the Rowe School. They build the brick building. And it is built to be the high school. And so if you look at the Rowe School, it's the very core at the south end of the school complex there. So that's the Rowe School. It's not called the Rowe School yet, it's Norway High School. We'll get to the Rowe part of it in a few minutes here. But that's the brick part they built in 1928-29, started in 28, finished in 29. And the wooden building is still there. And you can see the Rowe School right there on the corner. That's what probably a lot of us remember, is when the wood building was still there and you walked into the brick building. And it was right there, a little parking area. There was a playground here, there was a jungle gym over to the left. Everything was paved there. So that begins to look like what many of us probably remember. And there is Norway High School, as it looked in 1929. Now notice this building here. Everybody remember that? There was a gym in the back.
Yes.
The boiler room was in the bottom of that thing. The gym was in the upper part. Anybody ever play basketball in that gym?
Yes.
Remember smashing into the, you make a layup and you smash into that?
A lot of people got bounced into the wall.
Yeah. And then there was a playground down back here. And there, I've got a picture, there was an industrial arts building down
That's
to the
right.
back too.
Yes.
Industrial arts was in the back. Here's another picture, 1929. And there was the industrial arts building that was down in the back. And just a few of the details about the building. The construction date, it was dedicated in 29. What's interesting is that fourth line down, and I put that in quotes because that was what was in the newspaper article. The boys went in one end and the girls went in the other. Yeah. mean, that's something. And they built it for 350. 350, 260 apparently were registering, will register, and the way this was written, it was as if it was 1929. And then that becomes the junior high, the wooden building becomes the junior high for 7th through 9th grade. So all the kids must have been going to primary schools by that point. That sound about right?
What year?
1929?
There was still some of the country schools were still open.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they're 7 through 9, the kids in grade school,
Yeah, they would still, the
must have been going to their local,
would still be in
local little town schools. Okay. Cost of construction, $75,000. Probably was a lot of money back then. Probably a lot of money back then. And there's some familiar names on that building committee. People here, people of relatives here, and right in the building here with us today. We have family members who are there. Charles, where's Charles? Charles here? Yeah. Charles, thank you for the plumbing, Charles. Thank you for And here was a typical school day, 35 to 39. And the reason I put circa 35 to 39 is it was not clear with other stuff that was attached to this exactly when it was. But apparently their school day looks kind of similar to what you'd see in a school day now. You know, they started at 9:10, that's kind of late. 9:10 in the morning, they went till lunch. And, they went late in the day, though. They went until 4:10. This is 4:10 here, so they went pretty late in the day. And they had rhetoric, Virgil, Homer, physiography, plus the usual geometry, math, English, Latin, Caesar, business law. There's the undefeated football team in 1947. There's some familiar faces in there. If you could see these, you'd recognize them. I think Don Gwine I think was right here. Stuart Cummings is a strapping 135 pounds. He changed over time for sure. There are some other familiar faces there with familiar names of people. Apparently, Ron, were you saying you played on a football team?
Yeah.
It was undefeated as well in what, 51? 51? Yeah. Yep. So, football was a big deal back then. 47, that probably, was Guy Rowe?
He was
The coach? Coaching?
No.
We'll talk about Guy Rowe in a minute. Yeah.
Brad, where did they play?
Good question. Yeah, where did you play? Fairgrounds? Was it the
Yeah,
fairgrounds?
we played in the center of the racetrack.
Yeah, fairgrounds. Was still there. And I remember seeing some pictures there of people. There was a picture of you in there. I'm pretty sure it was you, and we thought it was your brother, but I'm pretty sure it said Ron. And Ron Morrison, you played line.
I played
Linebacker?
fullback and linebacker.
Okay. So maybe they got the name wrong because they showed a picture of these guys in the three-point stance. It looked like it was at the fairgrounds. So what was it, 55? 55.
It was when I graduated.
And when was the undefeated season? 51?
51.
Cool.
He was in Bronx.
Everybody know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows Best Plain. 1951, his music class was Best Plain. I think did she age at all? I mean, she always looked, she probably did, yeah. But I always remember her looking the same. You know, yeah.
Oh, he didn't mention he got old.
Yeah. On the hair, pop on top, lots of rouge.
And the spiked
Always the
heels.
same.
Yes.
Necklace and fishnet stockings. high heels, always wore high heels. I remember her very famously telling somebody, we were doing a school project, and I don't remember which grade it was in. We were doing a school project, and one of our classmates, Dave, was going to do his project on the Beatles. And she looked down her nose at him, and she pulled those half glasses on, and she says, "Oh, if you have to do that on them, they're not going to last." It's the only thing that changes my opinion of this. She so badly missed that one. Oh my God, the songs that she taught us, I'm sure a lot of us could still sing the songs that she taught us. Oh, they were like Woody Guthrie songs. They were songs from the 40s, 50s, 60s. John Phillips Sousa. We listened to a lot of that. We listened to a lot of patriotic songs.
She always played Dance Macabre.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah, very good. These guys were great.
She taught us, "Won't you come home, Bill Bailey?" She taught us not to chew our consonants, so it's not "won't you come home, Bill Bailey." You come home.
And to breathe.
Yes, the
Not to go on a banana peel slide.
Banana peels, yeah, she was always big on not sliding on a banana peel when you're singing. I remember singing, I remember dancing in a little production in the gym, in school production. And yeah, that's just like it was yesterday.
Brad, I remember her telling boys, "Your voice is changing.
Yep.
Come back next year."
Yeah. Yeah, she was a character for sure. All right, in 1961 is when Oxford Hills High School, help me here if I get the dates wrong, 61 I think is Oxford Hills High School starts. Norway High School students end up going to South Paris as part of the consolidation of the high school. Does anybody know, is this when the school was called the Guy E. Rowe School? Did they dedicate it when they made it into elementary in his name?
Not till later.
Right.
Not till
Not till
later?
later.
Right.
When we were there, I'm dating us.
Yeah,
To the mid-60s, it was still the Norway Elementary School.
it was.
After we left, but I don't know when,
Yep.
they
I could not find.
they called it they did
Yeah.
change the name in the school.
Yeah, I couldn't find in the records here.
Maybe not till they added on. We were gone, so I don't know.
Yeah, if I did a deep enough dive, if you did a dive into the newspapers, you could probably find it. They probably had some sort of a dedication ceremony or something. But at some point, because when I get to Guy Rowe in a minute here, he passed away in 1960. So it would have been
It
sometime.
was several years later.
Sometime
before
after that.
that.
Yes, okay. All right, there he is. Here's the man. And this guy was quite a guy. There's a lot of stuff about this guy. A very accomplished athlete. When he leaves Bates in 1924, he comes to the school here to be the principal, junior high principal, and he was also teaching. So apparently he's a science teacher. And of course, he coached a lot, coached 4 sports at some point. He also was very active in organizations, teaching organizations, as you can see, Maine State Principals Association, Oxford County Teachers Association. And at some point, the school is dedicated in his name. Must be sometime in the 60s, I guess. Quite a long write-up in the paper when he passed away. Apparently, he influenced a lot of people. He meant a lot to a lot of people. 1984, the yellow wooden building gets demolished. Anybody go to that ceremony? Go to that? There were like 300 people there, according to the newspaper article. So it was a pretty big deal when the whole thing came out. And everybody remembers doing fire drills coming down the fire escape.
Especially for Miss Claims.
For Miss Claims' room, way at the top. Yep. Oh, I can still smell that. So vivid. Rowe School addition goes on in 1985. And I didn't look in the records here to find the whole process of when that happened and how much it cost and all of that. Some of you will probably hear when that happened anyway. So, but I did take some pictures here. So that's what the thing looks like now. That's what the school looks like now. Of course, that whole addition on that left-hand side, that area is where the yellow school building was. And then the addition gets put on, goes out that way, and also goes backwards where there's a gym and an assembly room and a parking area out behind. Right to the left here. Does everybody remember what was there? Herbie's penny candy. How many cavities did people get by penny candy at Herbie's?
5 cents a candy bar.
Oh my God! You can buy so much candy down there. It's like, and you could walk smart. I don't remember. Did we sneak down there during school? I can't imagine they let us go down there at school. You get caught and get in trouble.
There was a dentist.
Yes, there was. There was a dentist next door. Yeah, there was. And then this is the back area. And of course, in the back area was where the industrial arts building was. It was down in the back here, and there was a big paved area. That I remember the big kids. I remember the big kids playing softball there during the school days. And I remember one of the teachers. I stood there just watching them play baseball. I wanted to play baseball with them. I was too little. And I remember a teacher coming up to me and saying, "Oh, Brad, someday you'll get to play with those guys." I said, "Oh, I want to play now." They just look so big, all these big kids.
Did you ever go on hand swings?
Oh, yeah.
Hand was dangerous.
They were wicked dangerous. I mean, people lost teeth on that. And you know, I remember the teachers having to talk to all the girls.
Oh, yeah?
You couldn't go on the hand swings with the dress on. So I remember that was a big deal. You know?
With some
The hand swings, you know.
chain coming down and bar before anybody jumps when you swing and people behind you, you let go of them and somebody gets in the face.
Oh, man. Dangerous as all get
Oh,
out.
all kinds of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody remember this lady? Imogene Staples? Ed Staples, who was here earlier today, said, I was thinking she taught here, but maybe it was a different Mrs. Staples. This lady, in 1999, was at the annual meeting of the Alumni Association. She graduated in 1917. She taught in Welshville for 50 years. And then according to Ed, she was a relative, according to Ed, she was kind of an old school teacher, kind of got a little fed up with rambunctious kids. And so she moved from Welshville to Mechanic Falls and taught like another few years. And she taught until she was like 80 years old. Quite remarkable. The fact that she was still alive for the 1999 meeting after graduating. 1917. All right, that's it. That's all.